It's alive!
How do we know she is alive?
I hate when people talk during the movie.
No wire hangers ever!
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Your stupid minds! Stupid! Stupid!
Fresh meat. Welcome, one and all, to the Bad Taste Buds Fresh Meat, the cinema roundup show where we get to disappear into our own little alternate reality every now and again and dress up as our own little waifu princess pop stars. I quite like it. I mean, I've known it for a while, but I had to look up the definition for this episode, but I don't really understand it. It seems like it's just like a girlfriend. Is it a gendered term? Or can anyone be a waifu? Could I be a waifu?
I don't know.
See? These are the important questions.
Well,
I'm asking the important questions.
It's not the culture I'm particularly entrenched in.
I know.
It's a term for fictional character people, usually anime.
So I can't be a waifu.
I mean, are you a real boy?
I'm a real boy. Yeah, so I'm your host, Liam. My avatar is going to be a Kung Fu Triceratops. I just decided that. I thought I was trying to like encapsulate the things that I love the most in my life, and it's Kung Fu movies and dinosaurs. Specifically Triceratopsi. Triceratopses.
Trikeys.
Yeah, that'll do.
Trikey dikes.
That'll do.
But
that's something entirely different. And joining me today, my partner in crime. How would you self-identify in the world of you? What would your avatar be? Bearing in mind, it has to reflect part of your personality, and you can't just be a giant walking cigarette.
I'd want to be the butterfly. Nobody ever suspects the butterfly. Let's be honest, I'm going to be some missing link.
You caught me off guard there with the butterfly joke.
I'm just going to be hairy, big-footed.
What's the
Neanderthal?
What's the one from that Leica film, Missing Link? What was it, Mr. Link? You just be Mr. Link.
I'm glad that took significant brain power for you to think of.
I forgot about that movie until right now. That's a great movie. But we're going to talk about another great animated film today. Today we're talking about BELLE, B-E-L-L-E, specifically with the E on the end, because that's a point of contention in the film. It's a fascinating... I'm determined at every opportunity. Every sentence in my script, I see another tangent. Hold on, I'm going to take that in case I hit the mic. Every sentence in my script, I see the possibility for a tangent. It's almost as if I can see the string theory universes branching off, and I'm like, oh, I want to go down that one. I want to go down that one. I will get through the script.
Much to my dismay.
You made me a really strong coffee right before this, so I'm blaming part of it on that. It's a fascinating little film, from quite a fascinating studio as well. So this one's from a studio called Studio Chitsu. Now, I want to preface that this director's worked with quite a few different studios. I know Chitsu, they were founded 11 years ago.
Sounds like a dog breed.
It is a Shih Tzu, isn't it?
Shih Tzu.
It's not quite a Shih Tzu, not quite an animation studio. Chitsu.
Shih Tzu.
The studio of Shih Tzus. They did Wolf Children.
I've only seen a couple. I know, like, Wolf Children, there's The Boy and the Beast and Mirai, and I've seen The Girl Left Through Time and Summer Wars.
Well, here's where we're getting, there's a bit of disparaging. So that was Chitsu, the one who did BELLE, and did Wolf Children, and I can't remember the other ones he said. But actually, Girl Who Left Through Time, not Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Girl Who Left Through Time is actually through Madhouse Studios, which is an offshoot of a studio. This is where it gets really confusing. It's an offshoot of a studio called Toei Animation, who were actually responsible for a lot of the high-profile anime that made it over to the West, like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Digimon, Sailor Moon. And weirdly enough, this director, whose name I'm going to try my best not to butcher, Mamoru Hosoda. Got it. This guy's career has been really interesting. So he actually got his big break doing, I want to say there was a One Piece movie he got his big break doing. It was either One Piece or Digimon.
Digimon was the first one.
Right. Okay, so he got his big break doing that, but he also then kind of followed that up with a string of animation jobs at Ghibli. So he worked under Miyazaki for a while. He was kind of a protege for a little bit of time under the Ghibli brands and was actually touted to direct Howl's Moving Castle, which personal favorite of yourself.
It is.
We're massive
I guess
Ghibli
he
fans.
didn't in the end. Then
I mean, you know we didn't. You've seen Howl's Moving Castle.
Obviously.
It is the most Miyazaki movie that has ever Miyazaki.
What gave it away? The machines, the characters,
airplanes. There's lots of airplanes. Yeah. Well, I mean, we love Miyazaki. We love that. I mean, that's kind of my only real avenue as far as my knowledge of anime kind of is limited to Ghibli, because I never really classified Ghibli as with a lot of the conventions, and I think I've had this kind of very narrow-minded, one-dimensional perception of anime for the longest time.
I mean, there are some tropes that I get why you hate them, like to save on money. TV studios especially will do still scenes where characters don't move and it's just exposition over the top.
You saw how much I hated. Was it Attack on Titan, where every episode was just the same? And
Dragon Ball Z is actually the worst offender for this.
I'm putting it out there. I don't even like. I think with Attack on Titan, the prestige that show carried for so long, and so many people were like, best show ever. I fully couldn't get through like half of the first season because it was just the same fucking episode showing it like different angles.
They do that. I remember
watching. Infuriating.
I was going through Dragon Ball Z episodes, and I used to keep thinking that I was on the wrong episode because most of the next episode is a recap of the last one.
It's bullshit.
Or they'll just expand on the scene that was in the last one for an extra like 20 minutes.
I mean, that's why I tend to stay away from anime, but I often feel like I've pinned myself into this box of you just don't like anime, and then I actually end up liking most of the films. I'm a completely different studio, even from Ghibli. I mean, I've liked pretty much all of the Ghibli apart from maybe Tales from Earthsea, which is just kind of a big hot mess. But the studio that did the last two really big ones was Your Name and Weathering with You. Which
both excellent.
Both excellent movies, and I actually don't know the name of the studio. I'm blanking. But that's an entirely different animation studio altogether.
I think they were the first ones where I got you to branch out away from
it was Your Name was what did it, and it made me cry. It made me... I cried a lot of tears for that film, and I still think it's one of my all-time favourite anime films. And just animation in general.
Yeah, it's got to be up there all time.
But yeah, this guy's worked under quite a few different studios, and the one that he's produced BELLE under is actually Chitsu, whereas the one he produced Summer Wars and Girl Who Leapt Through Time was Madhouse. So I wonder what's happened.
I nearly said the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Copying your example.
But yeah, I often think, I wonder why he's gone back to the studio that he did his first few films with to do this. I wonder whether there's I don't know. I mean, maybe the studios are letting him, because I feel like this is immensely creative. Like, immensely. We are going to get into what we thought about the film very shortly. This is a creative powerhouse of a movie.
Well, for someone who's seen some of his old movies, I definitely think this is the most cohesive of his narratives, I want to say.
Okay. I mean, as a guy who's never seen any of his movies, I'd like you to elaborate.
Well, in general, he's just a bit like...
Scattershot?
Yeah, even or heavy-handed. In this, for example, so obviously...
Remember, we're non-spoiler territory for now, okay?
Yeah, I don't think it's this too bad. It's like all allegory for like online bullying and be careful what you say in comments and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But at certain points feels heavy-handed because you see the comments and it's literally like, oh, I don't like you, you smell.
Fully disagree.
You say stupid words.
We're gonna have our first. Well, I'm gonna troll you in a minute because I fully disagree with this, and I actually have a really strong stance on this. I don't think it was heavy-handed whatsoever. I think it was painfully accurate. I teach these dickheads every day of my fucking life.
Yeah, you do have the experience.
That's exactly what kids are like.
My God, children are monsters.
They are absolute monsters. It's that transparent and it's that matter of fact. There's no nuance to online bullying. There's no nuance to shit like that.
It's like you are a big dumbhead.
It literally is that you're a big poopy face or something shit like. And these like 16-year-olds doing this shit. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the actual film then. Let's do a basic plot summary before we go any further. So Suzu is a shy and socially awkward high school student who quickly, overnight more or less, becomes a global beloved superstar after entering the fantastic virtual world of You, which is, I guess, would you say like a Mark Zuckerberg wet dream?
That's what he wants Meta to be. Yeah. I don't see it happening.
No. It is this like dream, the impossible dream world version of what I think Meta would be. But also, I don't know how you would like allow a social media app like You to exist. Basically, it is this like Habbo Hotel-esque universe, and I'm using that point of reference because I don't know what Roblox are.
Mate,
I don't understand.
Liam.
Whereas I remember
we literally
Habbo Hotel.
have VChat these days.
What is VChat?
Virtual chat. You just put the headset on, you go in as an avatar, and you just talk around.
Never fucking heard of it, mate.
It's already a thing.
Never fucking heard of it, mate.
It's because you're old.
Is that like a kids thing? Do kids do that? Is that where that meme came from?
Loads of people fucking do it.
So anyway, it's like Habbo Hotel, but instead you kind of can see everything that's going on.
That is disgustingly underselling what this app is.
This is where I get a bit confused with the film. And actually, the only real point of contention I have with the film is I don't really understand the logistics of how the app works.
I can help you out here.
Are they in the universe?
No, as far as we're concerned, for God's created this, It's like the four wise
That doesn't
people
clarify
created
things,
it, but
as
it
of
literally
yet.
gives no more details, which means everything is magic.
Okay,
So
that's fine.
the answer to your question is a wizard did it.
A wizard did it. So,
But you're right, yeah. They go through, and when they switch between you and the real world, it's hard to tell where the perception
Yeah.
lies because they're still doing actions whilst in the virtual
Well,
world.
sometimes they're not. Sometimes there are scenes where that character's not there anymore and they're in the virtual world. But we'll get into that later. We're going to have a bit of a spoiler talk about that, I think, a little bit later on. So yeah, we follow Suzu, who creates this avatar Belle. She's in the universe of You. She embarks on an emotional and epic quest to uncover the identity of a mysterious beast known as Dragon, who is on the run from a ruthless lot of vigilantes within this universe.
Spoiler alert, he plays the part of Beast in this Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Which I'm glad you brought up, because this is actually a tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time.
And it's this odd cyberpunk-esque retelling of the Beauty and the Beast story, which I think we know quite well from the Disney adaptation. That's probably the biggest point of
Adaptation?
reference. Yeah.
I know best from the original Disney movie made.
That's what I meant. Not the remake. Ignore. I'm talking about that fucking Emma Watson train wreck. I'm talking. You realize Beauty and the Beast was a
Lansbury.
tale as old as time.
I know it's is it Hans Christian that one?
No.
it's not.
Right. Beauty and the Beast is a weird one. It was like published in a French women's magazine back in like 1796 as a telltale, basically a how-to guide on how to train your man from his beastly.
Step 1, get Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, step 1, leave him. No, it was literally this guide for women on how to basically train a man to be less abhorrent and less beastly in a women's French
oh my god, I think I love it more
like a
now.
17th version of OK Magazine is where it
cool.
originated from. But yeah, it's the most recent adaptation of the Beauty and the Beast story, which is a tale as old as time. However, I do think it's probably I think it's the most successful version of that, because I think it modernizes it in a way that it's almost a little bit ahead of its time, I think. And I think those aspects that you were talking about, the fear of technology.
Yeah.
Because it is. One of the main allegories is this fear of technology, this when do we know when technology goes too far? But also, I think it balances it wonderfully with this idea of technology being something that's also extremely uplifting and extremely powerful. I think it could have landed really heavily on one side or the other. And it could have had this moment of preachiness where it's like, no, technology
it could
bad.
have easily came off as preachy.
And yet, the MacGuffin, the crux of the whole, which you love so much. You love it when I say MacGuffin. MacGuffin. Inciting incidents that leads all these characters to this wonderful adventure.
The exciting incident.
The exciting incident is technology, and is how technology has influenced these children's lives, because technology is not going anywhere. And as a professional curmudgeon, professional, I will say that I kind of hate technology, and I do have this big personal vendetta against TikTok, which
he says using microphone equipment, laptops.
Yeah, but this is old school shit.
We have 3 computers in this room.
This is old school shit. But
PlayStations, TVs. You are not anti-technology.
No,
I'm
not.
Anti-youth.
I'm anti short attention span is what I am, and I'm going to stand by that. I'll be the Alex Jones of this podcast if you'd like.
Fine.
Gen Z has no attention span. I'm putting it out there right fucking now.
What do you think about Vines?
Vines, they were only around for a couple. I thought they were fine.
I was
not obsessed with Vines. I was not obsessed.
You used to flick through them and show me Vines constantly, and I hated it. But now the kids have TikTok and they've moved on to a new.
I want to preface this with I used to show you Vines of dogs. And that was pretty much exclusively. And I show you TikToks of dogs and cats doing silly things, because dogs and cats are always going to be great. But TikToks of people, no, fuck that shit. But anyway, I think it straddles this line quite nicely between the benefits of technology and the potential risks of technology as well. Because it's very. I mean, we're going to have to talk about. We saw this in IMAX, and I do think if you're going to see it, which I would recommend, that's the way to see it.
Fully. It's very colourful. It's very loud. It's very breathtaking.
It's staggeringly original.
You want to take it all in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't completely ignore history. There's a blend of animation styles that works so beautifully.
And I actually think that blend of the old school and the new school animation style often plays quite nicely into its theme as well of technology good, technology bad. It's not either, really, is it? it is what it is. It exists within the space of. It's not typically black and white.
It was more grey than anything else, but that's why I thought the focus was more on the people rather than the actual technology.
No, this is it. This is the
I
thing.
didn't even
Yeah.
realize that was a big theme.
Well, no, but it is. I mean, I mean, that's going to be a big theme in any cyberpunk, futuristic sci-fi film. You can't really make a sci-fi film these days without having the undercurrent of technology good ? Being present. But I do think it cushions it with the human drama, and I think it puts more of an emphasis on the human drama, and just portraying really accurate, very lovable high school students. Like, again, we have a cast of characters here who are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, in no small part thanks to its voice cast. I mean, we saw this in the original Japanese with the subtitles, but you can actually see it in English as well. It has there are currently 2 versions out in the cinema. I mean, I always would recommend subbed over dubbed, but that's just me.
Depends how good the translation is. I don't actually know how it works in this one.
You found
I've
yourself-
only seen the Japanese one, but it was good.
You found yourself pretty enamored with a few of the English songs. I've been hearing them on repeat on your Spotify pretty.
Yeah, because I have to
pretty
go on
consistently.
YouTube for the Japanese versions because I just can't find them on my Spotify.
Spotify's racist, apparently.
I just don't know how to use it. I think it's my fault.
I want to give a big shout out to kind of the main 2 cast members, the actress who plays Suzu, Kahoa Nakamura, and the actor who plays Dragon, Takeru Sato. Both phenomenal performances. Yeah, oftentimes with voice acting, I think you run the risk of losing a lot of potential emotional brevity, but I do think both of these actors carry that really well because a lot of it rests upon their relationship and their interactions with each other.
I mean, a lot of the films from, I was going to say this studio, this director, are like that, where it relies heavily on the main characters.
Yeah. Much as it is a fantastical science fiction epic, it's more about 2 school children who have found themselves in a grief-stricken situation. A situation that's very harrowing, and I think quite a few of the themes delve into the realm of science fiction. I think the most prevalent and important themes actually come from a more human angle, a more human place. And we deal with grief. We deal with the themes of loss and abandonment and abuse. All things that I think a lot of modern fairy tale adaptations tend to kind of overlook.
It's been a while since I've seen something this grounded, especially in modern terms. There's a lot of themes about real world situations, but I don't feel like they're hitting as hard as they used to.
What, in this?
Even back in, no, not in this. This
Oh.
is an exception. But
Oh, okay.
even back in the day, with things like Saved by the Bell, you'd have
Jesus Christ, you serious?
you'd have your drugs PSA
Are
episode.
you fucking
and-
serious? You're bringing you were comparing Belle to Saved. Oh,
Oh,
Saved by the.
Bell. Ah, so you,
I also want to take a minute to break the fourth wall again and reenact a scene from Saved by the Bell. I
full
think-
minute.
Not a full minute, just as long as it takes, because I'm so excited.
I'm so excited.
So excited. I'm so scared. Nothing will ever hit as hard as the coffee addiction pills scene in Saved by the Bell.
But yeah, man, they used to do this in kids shows all the time, where they'd sneak, not even sneak by, they'd do hard hitting message and deal with real themes.
On a very special episode.
look at
usually, yeah.
Tracy B. Care with the kids all live in a care home, constantly abandoned and let down by adults. And I feel like it doesn't happen as much in modern fairy tales and things. Tends to lean on the happier. That might be because we're living in a darker time and they're just wanting to bring nothing but joy. But having these issues tackled, I think, really adds a lot to the movie in terms of points. I don't want to bring any critique your way.
I don't. No. I see. This is the thing. You've been talking, and I have been listening, but also I've just been singing the Tracy Speaker theme song in my head. It's like, no matter what may come my way, believe me now, I will win someday. I never knew how that ended. Did she win?
They had that movie, and they went to find a mom, and the mom was a stunt double. She is an actress, but she wanted nothing to do with Tracy. Basically, she's like, "Oh, so happy to see you, darling. So happy you're here."
Did she live with?
And she was like, "You
what's-her-face?
stick around while we do the after party." And the mom fucked off, but Cam was there for her.
I was about to say Cam.
Cam's always there for her.
Cam was always there for her. No, you are right though. You are I mean, that's an interesting comparison to compare it to old, not sitcoms, are they? They're all the old Saturday morning cartoon era of our childhood. But I think a more accurate comparison for me would be to compare it to Ghibli. That's what I think I'm getting from films like Your Name and from Weathering with You, to a lesser extent Weathering with You. But this, again, I'm getting a lot of Ghibli. I'm getting a lot of really mature themes in a very bright, very hyperactive, very exciting package, which you know what? If Miyazaki's not going to do it, if he's going to retire for the 6th time, someone's going to take over the mantle. I'm perfectly fine for this Mamoru Hosoda to do it if he wants to do it. If he's up for it and he's going to take over the mantle. I mean, even the end, when the film ended, let's talk about like the credits roll. And no one moved.
No one got up.
Like, no one stood up. And it was this moment of, I mean, we're not waiting around for an after the credit scene. This isn't a Marvel movie.
Personally, I stayed because she started singing again.
But it was
during
this powerful moment where everyone was kind of just needed a minute to collect themselves. And I really appreciate that a film could make me feel that. And I think at the minute, this is the high standard for 2020 for me. This is like every film has to kind of live up to that moment.
Yeah, easily his best that he's made so far and the best I've seen this year.
But let's kind of round up what we thought before we get into the spoilers.
So I'm scared to bring critique against this movie because Scary's just going to bite my head off.
Oh, no, I will.
But while it does deal with mature themes and it is quite adult in a lot of those senses, I also feel like it hits some of the stereotypic tropes of making the characters really jumpy and kind of random. The boys are extremely stoic and they don't ever speak, or if they do, it's just like a, hey, sup.
He's that like
Talk to me.
manic pixie dream boy kind of aesthetic.
But then you also have where the girl's always red-faced, or she jumps up and starts running around the house like a Scooby-Doo character.
It's animated. It's hyper stylized.
It's hyper stylized, and I don't love that as a general anime trope.
You know, I don't love that though. So why am I'm disagreeing with everything you're saying? I found those endearing. I found those because I know exactly the moments you're talking about, and I found them hysterical. There's one. And again, no spoilers yet, but there's one scene in a train station that does that hyper anime, that hyper stylized scene, and we were both.
But that's fine, no, that's
laughing.
different. That is different.
Okay.
I'm thinking more of a scene like she has a conversation with her dad, and he says something about dinner, and then she's like, nothing, no, and slams the door and then starts running away. When she runs, like her whole body leans forward and the legs start almost doing the roadrunner thing.
No, I can forgive that because I think that's just a product of the culture, personally, and I can forgive that. And I don't think it was ever a detriment to the story. I think they were ever.
I don't think it was a detriment.
I think they were minor moments, and I think that's a nitpick at best.
I still think the main characters, being Suzu and the dragon, still absolutely fantastic and carry this movie, especially when they're inside the world of you.
Yeah.
But outside of it doesn't bother me. I still had a lot of fun. I still enjoyed the characters, and it didn't put me off. But there are certain points where those scenes or actions or animation styles happened where I was a bit like, oh, I don't like these.
Okay.
As a trope. But no major detriment to the movie. Everything else around it was still great, and it didn't do enough to pull me out of the movie for it to be a major concern of mine.
Okay, that's entirely you're allowed to have that opinion. You want to give it a rating? If you were going to give this app, would you give it a 5 stars on the App Store?
5 stars, yeah. I was trying to go
to be animated.
like chibi girl.
I mean,
Yowie.
no, you can give it. How many would you give it? If you had to give it a score out of 10,
out of 10,
I will not accept anything lower than 10.
I'd say 9.5.
That's lower than 10.
9.8, something around that area. We haven't even touched on how good the music was.
Oh shit, man!
And
right?
we barely even talked about how hyper colourful it was, or the blend of old school and new school animation, and when they used it. So inside of you, it was very new school. It was digitized a lot, I think.
A lot of 3D animation going on there as well.
A lot of 3D animation, and the colours were just so bright, bold, absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it's a lot of bold reds and a lot of golds. Those kind of like really vibrant power colours. That's the one.
And outside, it was not muted by any sense of the word, but the school uniforms were like white and black.
It's realistic.
It was realistic. It was grass, but the backgrounds had this modern animation style that wasn't 3D. It was still 2-dimensional, but everything felt a lot more alive and real, where the characters felt something like from an early Ghibli movie, where it's a lot simpler and the faces don't have as many details. The boys are quite like stick-like in the arms and legs. Yeah. And I thought that blend worked really well. I compared it to The Amazing World of Gumball, but I mean in that sense of their 2D like paper characters on like a 3D animated background.
See, maybe it's because I never watched Gumbo. I didn't really get that reference.
Gumball to start with.
Oh, is it Gumball, is it? So you
Gumball.
clearly do not have a clue what you're
So
about.
think like South Park
No,
characters
I get it.
on
No,
a hyper-realized
no, but I didn't really see
background.
that. Like, I see the hyper-realized background, but I also didn't really see the characters as that papery. I think there were times of those
they weren't
hyper-stylized
papery, they were
moments.
animated, but do you remember that classic animation style where the boys would have that kind of weird shape where
No,
they
I
go
get
triangle in the
you.
middle?
I entirely understand what you're saying, but I also didn't think there was that much of a difference between the backgrounds and the foregrounds. Personally, maybe that's just me.
I think it was a big
Because you
thing.
mentioned this as we came out, and I fully didn't even
I
recognize
clocked it straight
No,
away.
I
It felt like
didn't
they were
even
blending
recognise it.
two different styles.
I would compare it closer, you're right, to like kind of modern Ghibli. I don't think I always have this high standard as far as animation goes, as like what my peak is, and and nothing has ever quite reached the level of something like Princess Kaguya, which I think is the most gorgeously animated film of all time, and I think it always will be.
Well, that's hard though because
it's
that is
watercolour.
watercolor. That's its own thing.
No, you're right, but I think that's like a personal preference. That's if you're going to do an animated film, that's the high benchmark.
It's like comparing a Van Gogh with a
No,
Picasso.
you're right. Visually, this is again what we said. We kind of mentioned it before when we said if you're going to see this film in the cinema, see it in IMAX because it's kind of the only way you can see it and get the full experience. The sound mixing and the animation, I think, blend so seamlessly together in service of the story because you do have these really, really colorful moments, these really extremely well choreographed musical numbers throughout that you almost kind of forget at points because they're quite sparse, but you are kind of watching part musical as well.
Another critique, sorry.
Oh,
I
God damn
want
it.
to say
I
critique.
need you to stop this
I'm
bullshit.
air quoting critique. My favourite song of the entire movie was the actual opening song.
Why is that a critique?
And there are some fantastic songs throughout, but like I peaked at the very start. I was like, this is my
I call bullshit right fucking now because the scene at the end. I mean, we can't really get into it without spoiler territory. But that's
gorgeous song, gorgeous scene, gorgeous animation,
I
and I
cried.
will be listening to it a lot, and it is powerful.
I cried.
But the first song was my absolute favorite.
I think it's
it makes
fine.
sense from, like Shakira doing like a fast-paced
No,
song.
this is just a personal preference again. I think that's you're kind of overhyping this first song. I think it's fine, but I also wouldn't probably even rate it
Yeah,
in
I
my
like
top
something
3.
beaty, fast.
Whereas I think a lot of the
pounding.
songs go for this high emotional brevity rather than kind of what you might expect from a lot of kind of upbeat anime. BTS, I would think BTS, but I think that's Korean, isn't it? I think I'm
It
mixing.
absolutely is. Yeah,
I'm struggling to think of J-pop artists.
they're a boy band.
No, I know, but they're so popular at the minute. That's all I can think about as far as what the kids like.
Well, I think of something more like Yutari Karu. She does the Kingdom Hearts music.
Yeah, no, I know that reference. You've introduced
Played
you've
a lot
introduced
of
us.
it.
I've heard that one specific song, and I cannot fucking name it. The one that's like a river runs through or
There's
something.
simple.
Simple and Clean.
Amateur.
No, Simple and Clean.
That
Simple
was
and Clean.
Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yeah.
She's done a lot, but like she has a
I could
great.
have swore that was Final Fantasy VII.
She has some fantastic albums, and Final Fantasy is part of Kingdom Hearts.
But
Anywho,
with Donald Duck.
she yes, with Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and Goofy.
You can say that, and it doesn't make it any less
I
ridiculous.
feel like Belle has the same kind of range in terms of music style, where you have the ballads and you hit the highest of highs, and that energy and songs that belong in parades and want to get you in the street bopping along. But then you have these absolute heartbreaking low points where the song touches your soul and you feel completely transported.
Take umbrage. I know you didn't mean it like that, but I take umbrage with the word low points. I get what you mean. It's low tempo.
Oh no, I mean
they are high,
emotions.
but
You
yeah,
feel
this
like
is it. They
you
are high
feel the
points.
happiest high, and you feel the saddest lows, and the emotions, no matter where you are on that roller coaster, hit just as hard.
There's one scene in particular, and I do want to get to spoiler territory just quickly.
Block your ears.
No, so
Stop
I'm going
listening.
to quickly do my review, and then we're going to talk about it. So I think this is the high standard for me at this point of the year. I know it's only the end of January, start of February. This is the high point of cinema for me in 2022. I think everything else I'm going to see after this has to kind of live up to this expectation because what I witnessed was something not only deftly original, not only incredibly moving and powerful and I mean, you can look at it from every angle, and I can shower it with nothing but praise. The direction, the dialogue, the acting, the animation, the soundtrack.
Side characters.
They're hilarious moments that even with these side characters, and everyone feels well realized, and everyone feels well rounded and realistic and relatable. And I think, regardless of who you are, we haven't even mentioned how fucking hilarious her sidekick is. Her like best friend throughout the whole thing. She's like almost got this like Aubrey Plaza energy.
Terrifying.
Yeah, she's got this Aubrey Plaza serial killer vibe to her.
But like add super genius computer hacker
Yeah.
on top of that. That's a dangerous recipe.
And you're right, she's like maybe in it for about like 30% of the film, really. Or she's not that integral to the plot, and yet
But I
she's
kinda like
kind
it
of
because
wonderful.
You hit points where she's mirroring the main character's
Yeah,
personality.
Suzu, yeah.
So Suzu has these anxieties, and when she's trying to overcome them and people are encouraging her, she has been with Suzu so long, she feels Suzu's pain. She's like, no, you can't. It's too much. You'll not be able to bear it. It's too stressful. And I thought it was a really good, like,
Well, this is it.
in-depth for a character. Not everybody was all on board being like, you can do it, Suzu.
Well-
you had a mixed personality bag.
Well, that's the thing. Sorry, personality
A
bag?
bag of personalities.
Well, that's the thing. Even the comic relief, even in what your standard stereotypical movie would be the comic relief, are very realized characters, and they are well rounded, and they have depth to them, and they have. I mean, you even have the potential jealousy. What's the word when you
Oh,
have a-
so they set up another girl to be a potential jealousy love threat.
They almost have to be a foil, don't they? Like she's almost portrayed as she could be a villain, someone who kind of actively works against our protagonist.
And who knows? Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. We'll
Let's
let you know
talk
when we
about
get to
that
the
in spoilers.
territory.
I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. I think this is a flawless fucking movie, and I can't actually look at any aspect of this and say I hated that or even I dislike that. This is a rare case where I walked out and I think every single aspect of this film hit so perfectly for me that I can't give it anything less than a 10 out of 10. And I don't care what people say. People are always like, oh, why are you giving it a 10 out of 10? Nothing's a perfect movie. Fuck you. I can give it what I want. And this is a 10 out of 10. This gave me all the feels. This gave me so many emotions. I was crying. I was laughing. I think that's a big one. When a movie can make you cry, laugh, and sing, and just feel
All in one.
every aspect of the human spectrum of emotions, I think you can't really give it anything less than a perfect score.
No, and there was another lady there who was having a blast.
I heard her audibly gasp at one point. And I don't know if you heard it, but there was like
beautiful.
one.
It touched me.
There was one thing that happened, and I literally looked over it, and she went. It was like
Kindred
I was
spirit.
like clasping my pearls moment, where she basically like touched her chest as if like, think of the children.
I want the hug her.
Yeah, no, it was fucking wonderful. Let's do a little bit of spoiler territory talk. So if you haven't seen Belle, go see Belle.
Go
That's
see
all
it.
I
In
can
a
fucking say.
rare turn of events, I've really loved the movie, but I'm not going to score it as high as Liam.
10 out of 10.
9 out of 10. There's more stuff in spoiler territory I'm not going to say here, but there's more reasons I'm dropping
We've got to
it by
hurry
a
the
little
show
bit.
because we're already well overdue. Well
Whose
over-
fault's that?
Not yours.
Exactly.
Let's do spoilers.
I get to talk as much as I want.
Best scene in the film, her riding that fucking whale at the end and all of the lights. First of all, her killing and
Oh, yeah.
disconnecting like
It wasn't her, it was
50
the
fucking-
whale.
100 fucking
It
users.
just splashes up through the crowd.
Like a million people are just disconnected immediately from their service.
God, you don't get to enjoy this
But
concert.
I think that may be the greatest scene in cinema that I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years.
Well,
like
that's
it just
fine,
it
but
blew
while
me
we're
the
still-
fuck away.
While we're still here on the point, the reason I'm giving it 9 as well now
Oh.
we're in spoiler territory is at the end you have no idea what happens to the kids.
And you're saying that as a bad thing because
Because in my head now, she's done exactly what everybody else did. And he even makes a point of going through and saying, what? Help, help, help. You're going to help? You're going to come over and help me? You're going to talk to my
So
dad?
what
You've
would
had
you
to
do?
talk
What
with my
would you
dad.
do
He
then?
understands now. But you see at the end, she goes over and he's like, I'm so happy you came. I can't believe you actually did. And then she leaves
Well,
again.
what would you do? How would you end it? How would you have that scene end? Because I think again it leaves things
Shoot
open.
the dad in the head.
Okay, well I guess then everything's wrapped up in a nice neat little package then.
It would have been. No, I think something like, I don't know, have her continuing a friendship with them or something, or messaging them when she gets back, or
Bearing in mind
having
this is-
CPS pull up to the house.
This is already like a 2-hour plus movie, and we needed to go home at some point.
Or even if, well, that's it as well. I think the movie could have been longer. And obviously, you haven't seen his other films, but he has, I don't want to say a problem, but there's a lot that he wants to get through all of the time.
Right,
I
okay,
don't know if he
okay.
always has enough time to
I
do
will.
it.
I will partly agree with you on
But
this.
here, at the end,
sorry.
hear me out.
No.
How about she's talking to dad? The dad freaks out because he's like, oh shit, someone knows they're not backing down. And I choose to believe that's why he freaked out and fell on the floor. Because there's now a witness who isn't going to back down and will go to the police.
The internet.
So I like to think that she like threatened him, or said anything ever happens again, anything happens to these boys. But like in my head, it's just as easy that she's abandoned them like everyone else did, went back to her hometown, which requires a train, it's a different side of the country, and just left them there again.
I think
She didn't even choose to take anyone with her when she went to see them. It was a violent man.
I think you're looking too far into stereotypical standards of Western cinema and how Western, because I think that I do think a lot of the films I've seen from Asian cinema do have that level of open-endedness and have that level of, I think, allowing their audience to infer enough.
But
And
how
I
am I
mean,
meant to infer, though? What is there to infer?
Well, I mean,
It gives you nothing.
the most logical course of action is she contacts the police. She shows them the fact that she's just been slapped to shit. She has 3 witnesses, well, 2 witnesses plus her. She goes to the police. The kids get taken into fucking child protective surgery.
Surgery.
Child
yes.
protective. What's it called?
Surgery, yeah.
No, it's not. And I can't remember the word now.
Services?
Services. They
fucking-
get taken into the Japanese
What happened to
version
that dictionary you were just eating?
of child protective services,
Curmudgeon.
and they.
You can do curmudgeon, but you can't do services.
No, but this is it. And she probably does maintain a connection with them, and she probably does maintain a
probably
relationship
does.
with them. And I think it recognizes that its audience is going to be smart enough to be able to infer those without giving. Again, this isn't The Hobbit, but we don't need 6 endings that explain every single aspect of what these characters did.
Well, I
after
don't
the
need
fucking
6
fact.
endings, but I feel like I could have done with not even a full act, but like a more extended final act where she's actually with these 2 characters that she spends so much of the film with to actually go and meet. But the scene with, but that's not where the, if that's where the
we'll
end.
agree to disagree.
If that's where the end of the movie, it wouldn't be as. I would rather it ended there and then, or give me an extended scene where she was at least talking to the kids or something, or shared some experience. I don't think that was long enough in terms of that aspect that we've been building this film up to.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one, my friend.
But still, solid 9 of a movie.
You could do a lot worse than 2 hours watching a deftly original, beautiful art house Japanese. I'm just saying words now. You could do a lot worse.
Fashion,
It's fashion.
pose, face, art.
Art. No, honestly, it's like 8:30 here. I've had like the longest fucking day of my life. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go off tangent. Screw you. I'm
Like every day is the longest day of your life.
I'm gonna.
Oh, I'm so first world. I can afford a personal trainer.
I'm gonna feel
I
myself.
don't
now.
have time to do my podcast and my personal training.
This is the thing, and I think this is a form of online bullying. And if you're listening,
This is
to
real world bullying. Try and stop me.
I just want everyone to watch this movie,
Yeah, please.
and I just want you guys to appreciate the level of artistry on display here.
I've
And
said it before, I've said it again. If we want art like this to continue to thrive and exist, we all need to contribute and go and see it and support these artists.
That's the thing. I mean, the only way we're going to get more of these across the waters in Western cinemas is if you go see them now. I mean, that's kind of why. Studio Ghibli's not making films anymore. Miyazaki's coming back in some form or the other.
But this hit a mainstream cinema, like it hit our Cineworld, which is a big one.
It wasn't very full, let's be honest. There was maybe about like.
It wasn't, especially
20, 30
considering it
people
was the IMAX screen, which is really sad.
Yeah, it dwarfed it. Everyone looked so much smaller because we were in such a big movie screen.
We were all clumped up together as well.
It was very cute. I want to recommend the fuck out of this. I want you to go see it. I want you to tell me what you thought about it.
Yeah,
Unless you have
man.
any other points, I think we kind of covered most things. There's not really much I want to spoil on this.
If you don't go in and think that first song absolutely slaps, you are the wrong kind of person for me, and I don't think we could ever be friends.
I'm just a bit upset that you thought it was the best one. I do think it slaps.
No, I said it's my favorite. I don't think it's the best. That power ballad at the end is definitely the best, but it absolutely slaps. It's like a party in my mouth, and everyone's horny.
You realize you don't hear things through your mouth. From last time I checked, you don't hear things in your mouth.
That's how good it was. I could taste
The music, taste the rainbow. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to our. I'm tired, and you can't tell. I'm like super emotionally tired right now.
Super emotional because he's been watching too many anime movies. But we loved having you here. We really
Yeah, you know what?
hope-
You do the outro. I'm gonna go to bed.
I really hope you go watch this movie. It's a fantastic little masterpiece. It's a great way to start this year, and you will not be disappointed at dropping like the £10 to go see it, depending on where you live, what country you're in. But I mean, go back, watch the litany of his catalogue, and you'll see that this is the best, and hopefully it just gets better from here.
I will make my dreams come true.
Believe me now, I will win someday.
I can't remember what the second line is, and I was struggling. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to this episode of Bad Taste Buds Fresh Meat. Both me and Ryan clearly adored the movie. Give us a like and a follow on Instagram and Twitter, and you will be hearing from us very shortly. Hopefully, we'll have our very first real episode.
Sorry, I know that sounds quite threatening.
You'll be hearing.
Us or you'll be hearing from us.
You will be hearing from our lawyers very shortly. But yeah, we are dropping our first main episode in February, so hopefully we'll be able to get the guys together very shortly. It's already February. Shit, we need to get on that, don't we? Love you lots, guys. We will see you soon. Take care of yourselves.
Until the next big feature.
Bye.
Stay bad.